She's there, in the middle of your work, in the silence of the night, even in the dreams you can't control. A person who insists on inhabiting your mind like a psychological ghost. It's not love, it's not longing, it's something deeper. The truth is that your unconscious is trying to send you an urgent message. And what if I told you that forgetting is not the solution? Today, you're going to discover why certain people become impossible to erase, and how to use that to free yourself. What is in the past doesn't always stay there. Unfinished emotions remain alive within us, waiting to be resolved. But why do certain people get stuck in our thoughts while others fade away over time? The answer is something much deeper than longing or attachment. Our unconscious retains unresolved experiences and keeps them active, regardless of how much time has passed. Jung said that everything that is not consciously processed remains within us, subtly influencing our feelings and decisions. This means that if someone persists in your mind, it may be because there is something about that relationship or how it ended that has not yet been understood or integrated. This fixation occurs because we seek an emotional closure that never happened. Perhaps the goodbye was abrupt, or the relationship ended with words left unsaid. The unconscious, in turn, keeps trying to resolve this unfinished business, bringing the person back into your thoughts repeatedly. It's not just a nostalgic memory, but an attempt by your own psyche to solve an internal puzzle. But why do some memories return with smells, songs, or places? The answer lies in a brain mechanism that is as powerful as it is invisible. Have you ever walked into a cafe and suddenly the smell of the place brought back a vivid memory of someone? Or maybe you heard a random song on the radio and felt like you were being transported to a moment in the past, as if that person were present again. This happens because our mind doesn't just record events, but also the emotions linked to them. Small details from everyday life can reactivate memories that seemed dormant, causing certain thoughts to return without warning. Neuroscience shows that significant experiences are recorded in neural networks interconnected by emotions. When an external stimulus activates this network, the memory returns along with its associated emotional charge. If a relationship had intense moments, positive or negative, the brain encodes that experience deeply. That's why, even years later, a simple detail can reignite feelings that seemed to be over. Jung would say that this happens because the psyche does not distinguish between past and present in the same way the rational mind does. The unconscious deals with symbols and associations, and anything that recalls an emotionally significant experience can bring that person back into your thoughts. The problem is that when we are not aware of this process, we can get stuck in a repetitive cycle of involuntary memories, reliving feelings without understanding why. The frequency with which someone appears in your mind does not depend solely on what happened between you, but on the emotional intensity that person represents for you. But what about when the obsession doesn't come from memories, but from something that never existed? Get ready to enter the realm of projections. Have you ever met someone who seemed to have something special, almost magnetic? It could have been an intense attraction, deep admiration, or even an inexplicable dislike. But what makes this person so present in your thoughts may not be just about them, may be about something within you. Jung called this psychological projection, the phenomenon in which we attribute to others characteristics that actually belong to us, but that we fail to recognize. If someone fascinates or deeply irritates you, there is a high chance that this person is reflecting something you have yet to acknowledge about yourself. For example, you feel drawn to someone extremely confident. This happens because, deep down, you wish to express that same confidence but don't allow yourself to. Or, on the other hand, an arrogant person might irritate you precisely because you struggle with that trait within yourself. The unconscious makes us see in others hidden parts of our own personality. This is why some people get stuck in our minds, not because they are inherently special, but because they represent something we need to integrate. Until we bring this projection into consciousness, we will remain obsessed with them without fully understanding why. But what exactly are we projecting? To answer this question, we need to look at a central concept in Jungian psychology. Not everything we are is visible to ourselves. There is a hidden part of our personality made up of repressed desires, unacknowledged fears, and traits we prefer to ignore. Jung called this part the shadow, and it is often what ties us to someone without us realizing it. Think of a person who has profoundly impacted your life. Perhaps they evoked contradictory feelings in you: admiration and envy, love and anger, desire and frustration. Now, what exactly about this person provokes you so much? It could be that they possess a trait you have always wanted but never allowed yourself to express. Or maybe they exposed a side of you that you preferred to keep hidden. If you were raised to always be kind and agreeable, avoiding conflict at all costs, and suddenly you meet someone who is direct, bold, maybe even a little arrogant, you can't get them out of your head. Deep down, it's not necessarily that person who fascinates you, but what they represent. The freedom to say what they think without fear of judgment. This obsession isn't about the other person, but about a part of yourself that wants to be acknowledged. When someone dominates your thoughts, it is often because they are showing you a fragment of your own shadow. Something that, if you had the courage to face, could become a source of growth rather than torment. But it's not just the mind that keeps this person alive. Your brain has chemical addictions that make everything more complicated. It's not just psychology that explains why someone remains stuck in your mind. Neuroscience also shows that deep emotional bonds leave marks on the brain, creating neural pathways that can remain active even after the person is gone. When we connect emotionally with someone, our brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, and other neurotransmitters that reinforce that bond. This happens especially in intense relationships, where moments of pleasure, conflict, and vulnerability create a chemical cycle that's hard to break. The stronger the emotional connection, the more these neural pathways are reinforced in. Even if the person leaves your life, their trace still remains in your nervous system. Has this ever happened to you? You're going about your day, distracted, and suddenly a memory of someone pops up out of nowhere. Not because you chose to think about them, but because your brain has learned to associate certain stimuli with that person. It could be a specific phrase, a touch, even the feeling of being in a place similar to where you used to go together. The brain doesn't forget strong connections, so easily it reactivates them when we least expect it. And that's why some people seem imprinted on us. It's not just emotional, but also biological. However, there's something even more mysterious about this fixation. Have you ever been thinking about someone, and suddenly they text you? Or after a long time without contact, you hear their name in a random conversation or run into them on the street. Sometimes these events seem like absurd coincidences, but Jung saw something much deeper in them: synchronicity. Synchronicity is when external events align with internal states in a way that feels meaningful, but without a logical explanation. For Jung, this wasn't just chance, but a sign that something in the unconscious was trying to emerge into consciousness. Imagine someone trying to move on from a past relationship. After months without contact, they finally feel like they're moving forward, and on the same day, they run into their ex in the most unexpected place. Or, while trying to forget someone, they start seeing that person's name on street signs, in songs, and in movies. Is it just the brain noticing random patterns, or is there meaning behind it? In Jungian psychology, these events may indicate that there's an unresolved emotional aspect or a lesson yet to be learned. The external world, in a way, reflects the internal contents of our psyche. Instead of just ignoring these coincidences, the best approach is to ask, what does this person represent to me? What have I not yet understood about this connection? But the answer to that question may go even deeper. Some people aren't just individuals in our lives, they represent symbolic figures that speak directly to our psyche. Some people come into our lives and leave a mark in a way that goes beyond logic. They seem to carry a greater meaning, as if they are playing a specific role in our story. For Jung, this happens because these people may be representing archetypes, universal figures that live in the collective unconscious and shape our psyche. Imagine someone who has always sought security and stability, but falls in love with a person who is free, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. This individual may be projecting the archetype of the explorer, the one who challenges limits and brings the call to the unknown. Or someone who feels an inexplicable connection with a teacher or mentor may be responding to the archetype of the sage, a figure that represents knowledge and guidance. These connections are not always about the other person, but about what they awaken in us. When someone occupies an excessive space in your mind, it may be because they represent a part of your own internal journey, an aspect that needs to be understood, accepted, or integrated. But understanding this is not enough. You need to know how to deal with it consciously. Knowing that someone is stuck in your mind for psychological and symbolic reasons is an important step. But how do you actually free yourself from this fixation? The answer is not to suppress the thoughts or force yourself to forget them. That only reinforces the obsession. The key is to integrate what this person represents to you. Ask yourself, what exactly about this person attracts or bothers me so much? What do they awaken in me that I have not yet accepted or developed? Writing about it will help organize your feelings and reveal invisible patterns. Another step is to reclaim your emotional energy. Sometimes, we stay stuck on someone because we have invested so much emotion in that relationship that we end up leaving parts of ourselves there. Bringing this energy back means reconnecting with your own desires, interests, and identity. Rediscovering old hobbies, changing routines, or exploring new environments can help create new neural connections and break the brain's automatic patterns. Meditation and visualization are also useful tools. Close your eyes and imagine this person in front of you. Instead of fighting their presence, acknowledge what they symbolize. Then, visualize yourself absorbing that quality into yourself and gently letting their image go. See this experience not as a problem, but as an opportunity for growth. This obsession is not about the other person, it is about you. If someone keeps coming back into your mind, it's not just because they were special. It's because they showed you something that still needs to be understood within yourself. Instead of asking, why can't I forget this person? Try reframing the question, what is this connection trying to teach me? Have you ever considered that what you admire in someone else might be an unexplored potential within yourself? Or that what irritates you might be a trait of yours that you haven't yet accepted? Jung said that everything that affects us intensely in others is, in some way, a reflection of ourselves. If someone has left such a mark on you, it is because, in some way, they were a mirror. In the end, some people come into our lives not to stay, but to show us who we truly are. Everything that binds us emotionally has roots in the unconscious. Projection, emotional triggers, the shadow, and archetypes are not just theoretical concepts, but active forces that shape our relationships and how we perceive others. And then, one day, without effort, you realize that the obsession has lost its power. Not because the memory has disappeared, but because you no longer need it to feel whole. If you enjoyed this content and want to understand more about life's questions, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who is also one of the awakened.